Hello, all, and welcome back to 100 Days of Magic, where we're talking about all the tips and tricks that you can use to make your life more magical. Really, that's just not about bringing something in that you lack, it's about realizing what is already there. We all are essentially acts of magic. We're acts of magic because coming down from spirit, becoming physical, is by definition an act of magic. This concept of, magic is something other or superficial or supernatural or imaginary are all ways to divorce us from understanding who we are or putting in some kind of mediator between us and our divine origins. And when someone can do that to you, they take away your most precious creative power. And that is your power to create who you are and what you want to be, what you want your life to be. That's the most precious thing any of us has. And the temptations either to give it away to someone else because we don't feel worthy, or worse, the people who want to take that power away from you because it makes them feel important. All of that is constantly playing out in everything we see in the world. But the step to getting off that wheel is to first coming back and being present to yourself and recognizing the magic isn't all around you, it is you. And so that's what we're doing through our tips and tricks to learn how to work with magic. We're setting up things that you can try out for yourself because I can say these words. You might even believe these words on an intellectual level, but until you can integrate them down into your very fabric of your being so that is your reality, nothing's going to change. And so why not take the fun road? Take the fun road and fill your life with magic by experiencing and experimenting with it for yourself. So I'm Donna Woodwell. I am here today at the Crossroads of Magic and Mastery to take you on a tour of our next spell, which was proposed by Kiki. She suggested that we come up with a spell for releasing negativity. The thing is, in magic, just like with any other intention setting, it generally works better if you work in the positive sense. So releasing negativity creates a vacuum. And so what we're really talking about is building a positive attitude. If you're going to release negativity, you're going to have to fill it up with something else. So let's say it's a positive attitude, or at the very least, a calm and centered place. So hello, Boris. Hello, Christine. Hello, Claudia. I'm so glad that you are here today so we can continue this adventure together. First thing that we have to do whenever we try out a new spell. Oh, Claudia says thank you. Your hair looks nice. I say thank you. Thank you. I got mad last night and I just chopped it all off. So at some point in time, I will have to get it done properly because it's a little uneven, but you can't tell. I just curled it. Anyway, let's get back to the magic of positivity, right? So, first we have to understand what a positive attitude is. We're assuming that if I want to release negativity, that is going to include a lot of negative self-talk. I'm not good enough. I am broken. I will never achieve my dreams. I will just pile on. I'm a bad person. I am not as smart. I am not as pretty. I am not as blah. The list goes on. Negative self-talk may not even be true on an objective level. It's just they're words that we come up with to limit ourselves. Negative self-talk puts up barriers around who we are. And those barriers that we put up around ourselves are protective. any barrier that we put up, any wall we build is meant to be protective. The only problem is, it begs the question of what do you think you're protecting yourself from? You imagine there's stuff out there on the other side that you need to separate. I am this and they are that. When reality, most people build walls. Most people crave protection. Whether it's their negative self-talk or even the reality bubble themselves. And they hold on to it so tightly when they don't feel like there is a core sense of divine spark within. When you don't believe that you are divine. Because the wall makes you feel safe. Like, it gives you a sense of definition. I am this. But if you have a divine spark within you, you have a sense of self already. It's the self that's actualized as its being here. And so the walls that you create become less closely held, less important to our process. Hence why it is so very, very important as we move through life to learn how to let go of some of those things that we tell ourselves, most of which aren't true. I mean, no matter what you say to yourself, there is no way you are the worst person on the planet. I mean, I suppose there's self-importance in that, claiming to be the worst of something. But, there's 8 billion other people on this planet. And even if you could rank people on a scale from best to worst, with 8 billion people on it, unless you think 8 billion people are that far more advanced than you are, I don't think you can say that as a factually true statement. So as we learn how to release negativity and embrace positivity, we have to begin, if we're going to design a spell around this, we have to begin to look at if we're doing Western magic, traditionally that means looking at the planets as our essential colors and figuring out what planets would produce a positive attitude and which planets will produce a limiting attitude. Now, traditionally speaking, Saturn, who brings us grounding and focus, the flip side of Saturn is our limitations and our fears. The old myths of Saturn are he was told by an oracle that one of his children would grow up to overthrow him. And so he started one by one eating his children because that way he felt safe. And eventually, because he was eating his children, one of them grew up to overthrow him. So you can think about Saturn's limitations are often a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because if he hadn't been afraid of what the oracle said, and if he hadn't been eating his children, they wouldn't have needed to overthrow him. So it's the cycles that we create for ourselves. And working to release ourselves from negativity and moving toward not just things that are positive, but at least real and calm can help us at least somewhat step off the reel of constantly manifesting negative things in our life that we react against because we keep calling it to ourselves as part of our reality bubble. The thing about reality bubbles, whatever you think your reality bubble is, that's what you will tend to see. So I love the example of people who say, oh, I looked up at the clock and it was 11:11. And every time I look at the clock, it's 11:11. That must mean something. Like what that means is that you program your reality bubble to look up at the clock when it's 11:11. And our minds are amazing that way. What we program them to do, they will give us in spades. So if it means something, it is simply a reminder that what you believe is often what you get. So releasing our negativity is super important, but it is the flip side, the dark side of Saturn, that starts the process. So what other planets could we go to change that, to balance it out, to warm up Saturn so we can use his gifts and not his burdens? The thing about astrology and using planets is there's a very old technique of learning what the Indian astrologers calls planetary remediation. Sorry about that. Planetary mediation just means balancing out the negative sides of planets so that they can achieve their most positive expression. There's really one of two ways you can do that. You can either throw yourself into the nature of the planet and embody its positive qualities, or embody all of it, or you can find the planet's complementary opposites and use that as a lever to keep the planet in check. And that's why there's 7 of them. We have 7 different balancing points. So there's not just one planetary opposite for every planet. There's different planetary opposites in different circumstances. I don't have time to get into this in these sessions because it takes a lot longer. But if you're interested in this kind of work, I highly recommend my planetary magic class because I will go into all of this in exhaustive detail. Be that as it may. In this case of banishing negativity, what we need to recognize is that Saturn brings us down. The negativity that Saturn expresses is the depressive side of limitations. The 2 natural opposites for Saturn, although you can look at them in different circumstances, but the easy ones to see are Jupiter, because where Saturn pulls our energy down, Jupiter pulls our energy up and connects us to the divine, and the Sun. Where Saturn is cold and dark, the Sun is bright and hot. So between Jupiter and the Sun, we are going to find support for creating a positive attitude in life. Jupiter's benefit is he loves to help us. He's very generous. That's kind of the nature of Jupiter. He can be very happy-go-lucky, though. He can be a little bit overboard. So he needs Saturn, his partner, to keep him in check. The Sun lets us to see what is, but he can be a little overbearing. and so working with both of them, just like working with any planet, is a balancing act. But when Kiki says releasing negativity, it depends on the circumstance. I mean, I'm presuming the releasing negativity is about her own life and not the lives of other people around us. Because you have lots of control over your own reality bubble. You have very little control over the reality bubbles of the people around you. All you can do is change your reality bubble and hope it's contagious. Because it's all of our responsibilities to live and create our own worlds. You know, for you to decide that the world someone else is creating, you can say that's not for me. This is how I see it. Or in the words of the one who writes the books about the dreams, Robert, what's his name? I can't remember off the top of my head. If it were my dream, this is what I would do. If we are willing to accept that going after someone's reality bubble is not the right path, work on ourselves, it becomes a lot easier to craft spells that make changes in our lives. If we're going to work with the Sun and we're going to work with Jupiter, we can create our spells around things that they like. Sun always likes fire, likes bright colors. Jupiter loves things that smell like Jupiter, so scented candles. Or we could, do something a little different. We've done fire spells for some of the last ones. We could decide we wanted to do a spell that involves sigils. We want to make a positivity sigil that we work with. Maybe we will do that just because we haven't done it already. So we know who we're going to work with. We can consider working with sigils just because it's an opportunity. There's lots of ways to manifest our intentions. It really comes down to what resonates with you the best. If you're a fire person, fire might resonate with you the best. If you are an earth person, you might like stones. If you are an air person, you might like sigils. If you are a water person, you might like sacred baths. You know, we have, or working with liquids. We have many options because there's many different ones of us. But there are all ways to like anchor our intentions. So why don't we come back tomorrow to do a spell, put together a spell for manifesting positivity. Understand that positivity, just like discernment, is something that we need 24/7. So it does make sense to do something that you can wear or put in your pocket or use all the time, rather than something that's just sitting on the shelf, because it will be a process. It will also help to recognize that positivity is going to require a lot of self-observation. Our negative habits are so ingrained that we repeat them over and over and over again. And you can't expect things that you repeat over and over again to not come back if you're not consciously working with what that means. But I must say, it does help to surround yourself with people who have the kind of positive attitude that you are looking to be around, which is the natural result of spells in this area. Maybe even more so than many of the other types of spells that we've talked about so far. If you want to maintain a positive attitude, you want to be more positive in the world, your relationships are going to change because you are changing. People are going to fall away. New people are going to come. And if you're not willing to accept what that means, then you're going to find your attitude is not changing, because you'll want to fit in and you won't want to lose people. You want to blend in and all those kinds of things. And I think that's yet another way we limit ourselves. But we should never underestimate the human innate desire to want to be with people and to fear being left out. Because for most of our evolutionary history, going back hundreds of thousands of years, if you were outcast, that meant death. You needed a tribe. And people are willing to give up all kinds of things for the sake of having a tribe. This is the foundational challenge of our modern world, is that, trying to join a tribe will keep you suppressing all kinds of stuff. Keep your reality bubble from changing because you're afraid. Which gets back to the limitations. So, while I may think that it's incredibly worthwhile to pursue a spells to maintain your positive attitude, you need to go into these things recognizing that sometimes this magical work is not easy. It's not like you may wave a magic wand and everything is fine. Sometimes there are consequences. And this is one of those kinds of spells that will have some interesting consequences in your life, which means removing the negative people in your life if they can't bear what you will be generating. And being okay with that, because if you're not, well, you'll just go back to where you were. Okay? So let's continue this conversation tomorrow. Again, my name is Donna Woodwell. I'm the owner of this crossroads of magic and mastery, so to speak. I am the headmistress of the School of Magic and Mastery, and I love talking about magic in all of its forms to give you the tools that you need to be able to bring more light into the world, because the world needs all the light we can get right now. So thank you all for coming. Hello, Mary. I'm glad you're here. I look forward to having this conversation all with you tomorrow as we talk about spells. I will work on something we'll see if I can get a hold of Kiki if she's got a preference. If she's got a preference, we'll use her preference. But if not, we'll probably do something with sigils because we haven't played with them yet. And until then, may all your days be filled with magic. Take care, everyone.